So she's from Venezuela, designer and creative and activist. In 2014, she was the first Hispanic student ever to receive a Council of a Fashion Designer of America award. She is a designer at Calvin Klein Jeans and founder of Carmela. Please welcome Carmela Osorio Lugo.
Hola,
Hola.
Okay.
Are you okay?
I'm okay.
Okay,
I
ready?
think I'm okay. I'm ready.
You say the other day, my mom asked me to practice in front of the mirror.
So many times.
Did you do
Yeah,
it?
like, look, yeah.
Okay.
I'm ready.
You're gonna do it good.
Okay. So, well, first of all, I want to start by saying, let me fix this. All right, good? All right. First of all, I want to say thank you to the Miami Fashion Summit, everyone that organized this event. Really, honestly, thank you so much for having me here. Thank you to my family and my friends that are here to support me, and thank you all of you guys for coming and just listening to me speak for 30 minutes. So, let's start. Okay, I'm gonna show you all the presentation. Wait. How do we go to the first one? One enter. I'm terrible with like laptops, guys. Sorry. Okay, here you go. Alrighty. So you're probably wondering who I am, right? And what is this 24-year-old woman here talking to us about sustainable? Like, why is she sustainable? Why she became a designer and she wanted to do sustainability. So first of all, I like to describe myself with 3 words and 3 sentences. I'm a designer, I'm a creative, and I'm also an activist. As Valeria said, I'm from Venezuela, from Caracas. I came here to follow that American dream. And I started being a creative because I really wanted to impact people's life throughout my work. And that's why I get inspired by people as well. I'm gonna share with you a little small video so you guys see my work and know who I am.
The Liz Claiborne design collar is Carmela Osorio Lugo from Savannah College of Art and Design. Carmela was inspired by the hard-working immigrants who passed through Ellis Island in search of the American dream.
Let's go.
Even though I have been blessed to work with very great designers, honestly, nothing has fulfilled me the most than giving back. Giving back has been my #1 thing with fashion, and this is what I'm gonna talk to you guys about here today. So, a woman's work, creating sustainable employment for marginalized women. So there's a big, huge macro trend going on right now that I feel like we all love, and I personally feel very identified. Women finally have voices. We finally have a voice. We finally can fight for our rights, and we stand together, and we're really making a change. However, I really think that in the fashion industry, our voice is not being heard, or at least we're not talking loud enough. So I want you all to stop for a minute and to look at each one next to you. Like, look at the person next to you and see what each person is wearing. And I'm not fashion police. I don't want you guys to judge who everyone's wearing. I just want you to look at what that person is wearing next to you. So basically, I feel like when you go to a bar and you meet someone, right? You ask that person, where are you from? How did you get here? You know, you want that person's background. I think the same thing we should do with our clothing, we should ask ourselves, where does that piece of clothing that we wear practically every day come from? In something that Carrie said also in her speech, there's a huge movement now with the feminists of like the shirts, right? We wear that feminine shirt like girl, Powerpuff Girls or Be Feminine or like all of these kind of nice slogan shirts. However, that shirt that you wear every given Monday has a whole background story that is really, really, really interesting because it takes almost 100 pairs of hands to get that shirt from where it's made to you as a customer. But this journey is probably not as nice as you think it is. So let's get some facts here, you know? Basically, the fashion industry, the creating and the manufacturing of clothing, a lot of people know, but it's one of the biggest industries in the world right now. 75 million people are actually doing your clothes as we speak. And this industry is worth about $1.2 trillion. So I think that it's time right now to make a change. However, I do want to give you guys a little bit of a perspective of how we got here. Where did we start it and how we got here? So before the Industrial Revolution happened, all the manufacturing was done at people's homes. So basically, they were their own working places where they will do a production and they will rely entirely on a self-pacing job. This means it will get done as it gets done, you know, slowly. Then the Industrial Revolution happened and the rules of the game completely changed. By this, I mean the machinery was developed, work became way more fast-paced, and of course, production had to pay the large and had to cover the large amount of money that manufacturing and machineries cost. What does this cost? So here is a chart in which you guys can kind of see very detailed what it takes usually in Bangladesh or in different countries like China, in China, for someone to make your clothes. So 100 pairs of hands usually touch your clothes before it actually gets to you. Then, from those 75 million people that I talked to you guys about, 80% are women, 80%, and they are from 14 to 24-year-old. Then, it takes a garment worker 18 months or a year and a half to make the salary of one CEO, fashion CEO, that he does over his lunch break. That's insane. And 14 to 20 hours is what they work usually in their sweatshops every single day. And most of women right now in the fashion industry, not only on the manufacturing, but also on the industry as well, like on the creative side, they deal with a lot of sexual harassment. So if the film industry is doing it, I feel there's a time and it's a need that the fashion industry start making change as well. Because these are women like you that they want to feel safe, they want to feel healthy, they want to feel financially secure, and they mostly want to feel happy. So all of this that I just showed you, what it costs is tragedies. And these tragedies can be prevented. However, there has been 2 instances, and one of them Carrie talked about, that really has like shown the world the reality of how these people are being worked and treated overseas. So one of the realities was in the tangerine factory in Bangladesh as well. In 2012, 112 people, mostly women, died, and they died over a fire that could have been prevented. Same thing happened in Rana Plaza. It wasn't a fire, but the actual building collapsed, and it killed way more people in 2013. About 1,100 people died, and most of them, again, were women. So these are the faces of all the people that have victims and that, in a certain way, have been affected through the fashion industry. So who's guilty? And by guilty, I mean, who's responsible? There has to be someone responsible for all of these causes. So for me, I think one of the persons that really are responsible for these acts are the retailers. Why? There's facts that honestly involve Rana Plaza, as Carrie said, with major retailers. Why? When the Rana Plaza building collapsed, you could see the labels of these brands during the horrible accident. So some of these companies, as you can see, they are Walmart, Children's Place, companies that their owners and the markup percentage that they have on every single one of their items is insane. Therefore, the competition between prices, between and another company, it's really high. And that's why they exploit all of their manufacturing. Another one of the people that can be blamed for this acts are, of course, the consumers. Why? This is easy. Basically, we demand all the time better prices. Come on, you go to a store, you go to an H&M, right? Sometimes people sadly does it. And they see a shirt, and the shirt is $3.99. They are happy with that price. But then they go to another store and they say somewhat like a similar shirt, but with sustainable product and made by good people, and the price of the shirt, of course, is $20, and they start complaining. So for us consumers, we're taught of buying cheap, and we're taught of, I want to get a good quality out of a very good price. But what are the consequences of that? So I'm going to tell you guys a really quick, funny story, right? So when I first came to New York, I was 13. My mom brought us there. And she gave me, of course, I was 13. I didn't know anything about sustainable fashion. I just wanted to be a fashionista. So she gave me $100 bill. And I was the happiest girl ever. I knew exactly what I was going to do with it. I was going to go to Times Square, which I loved Times Square back then. And I was going to go to that beautiful 3-floor Forever 21 store. $100, I can buy my whole closet. I was so happy. I was beyond happy. I knew that was it. Every time I will come to America, I will go for Forever 21 and I will buy all my closet with $100. Until I turned 21. I went to fashion school. And I watched one documentary that really changed my perspective and really made me feel that, you know what? This is a time for change, and I can also lead it. I can also make it. The documentary, which I want to share with you guys, is The True Cost. And it really shows you the situation that is going on and what's happening. And it made me realize that that $100 affected millions and millions of people in the world. So since I'm a denim wear designer, I really want to kind of like, because it's easy sometimes for us designers to like understand the process of what a garment goes with. But I think as you are the consumers, you guys also have to know. As a denim wear designer, I want to give you the true story of how you make a denim jean. So basically, here you have it. You have the denim jean that H&M sells to you. What a great price, right? $14.99. It's even cheaper than your probably dinner that you're going to have tonight. $14.99, you got your beautiful, fashionable, distressed denim. However, let's think about that price. And I want you to like focus on that price right now a little bit. It's $14.99. What does it take to produce a jean that his value is $14.99? So we first have to talk about the markup percentage. Every single brand has a markup percentage that's usually at least the double of what that jean costs. In the case of H&M, it's probably double. Why? Because don't you see the tax of sales like every single week on every single one of their clothing? So if they have at least half, let's say this jean costs 7.5, right? So here's like a little video. You can see, like a little GIF, that you can see what does it take really to make that jean of $14.99. First, you have the cotton fiber. You have the actual fabric that is being, you have to have the cotton seeds, and then you're going to have the fabric that you're going to start making your jean with. Then you have the dyeing process. This dyeing process, denims usually are going to be dyed in indigo dyes. That takes a long process also to do. And it's all made by people. Look at how many hands have touched that jean only. Then you got the cutting and sewing. That's a whole nother process. They cut the jean, they sew the jean. That's another person doing that. Then you got the trims, which a trim costs. Like every single hardware, guys, is probably even more expensive sometimes than the actual fabric. And the distressing. Distressing, as you said, as you can see, it also takes time. Washing later. After that, you have the packaging and the labeling. And probably the most cost of all of this process, the one that probably costs the most sometimes, is the shipping and the handling. So if you divide 7.5 on these 8 processes, which honestly some of these processes are more expensive than others, you're going to have 0.9, 0.9, 0.9, 0.9. There you go, 0.9. So basically, you are paying a garment worker, and it's probably less, 0.9 for your pants, for your amazing denim jean pants. But you're paying the H&M and this retailer 7.5. These retailers not only abuse and let these things happen, but at the same time, they knock off designers' creativity. So is this something reasonable? I want you guys to see the perspective of how or what does it take to make a $50 jean. Like, how can they have it so cheap? How can they make it in such an affordable price? As you saw, first, the jeans are made on the low quality materials ever. Most of H&M jeans or the cottons, it's bought in Uzbekistan. Uzbekistan, they use child labor, which means children during the summer, they go to the landfills and they literally work for the cotton you buy on those jeans. Second, most of these jeans, as I just said, are made by women in sweatshops. That means that cheap labor, long hours, and poor working conditions, they're all synonyms of your $15 jean. And then these jeans are made to fall apart. Come on. All of these jeans, you wear it like 4 or 5 times, maybe 10, until you throw them out. Or even the shirts. You wear the shirt 1, 2, 3, 5 times. It gets all wrinkly. You don't wear it again, and you toss it on, or either you toss it on your pajamas drawer. So what is the change? How do we do it? Let's start restitching the fashion industry. And I feel by restitching the fashion industry is all about empowering women through fashion and doing what is right. All right. So there's 3 things that are very fundamental in this process. I think Carrie did a great job at explaining it. One of them, of course, is a smaller supply chain. That means that you have completely control of all your supply chains. Where do you buy your trims? Where do you buy your shirts? The fabric. Who makes it? You go and you literally take control of that manufacturer that is producing your product. Then you have ethical sourcing. Big fashion industries, just like Calvin Klein. We have like 5 people working just in the sourcing of the jeans. Why? Because sourcing is what's gonna get you the right product, the right fabric, but also the sustainable product that you're gonna wanna buy. Then, transparency in the whole entire journey. Transparency, as Carrie said, is so, so important. Why? Because you're gonna then be able to see the whole journey that we talk about. You're gonna be able to see the whole journey of where your jeans come from. Then, right now, and this is where I feel the most happy about, is that there's also women who are not happy with what's going on in the fashion world. And these are the women. Did I drop it? Ah, no. Hello. Okay. I didn't know. It's so small. Now? No. You see, I dropped it. Oh, hello. Okay. You got it. So, there's also women that are driving the change. Some of the women are actually designers that decided they were also in big corporations that they weren't doing sustainable work. So they decided to lead the change and start empowering women through their clothing and through their creativity and through the products they design. So one of them, friends of mine, she's a CFDA member. Her name is Aurora James, and she has a brand that is called Brothers Fields. Basically, these are all shoes, beautiful shoes, and they're all made by artisans in Africa. Her goal was definitely to introduce the world of fashion with traditional African footwear. So she creates jobs and she sustains jobs for people in Africa, and they are the ones that create all her products. She's actually the first Black woman to be nominated for a CFDA award, which is huge this year. So who make the shoes? The people, just like the fashion revolution. The people that make the shoes are actually women that are given jobs. They're from different ages, they're from different tribes, and they have different religions in Africa, and they get paid a fair amount of wage, and they also get taught about how to make different types of shoes. So they get not only the education, but at the same time, they get a fair wage amount. Then I really want to promote this brand. And I want to promote this brand because it's a completely different, or I feel like it's the antithesis of what H&M is. I call it the sustainable alternative for fast fashion. Reformation started about like 10 years ago just selling vintage clothing. They went, they got the vintage clothing, they maybe repurposed it, and they started selling. This model started growing, 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 and now they have a manufacturing in LA, and they provide women, I think 500 women, with way better jobs than what they do in Bangladesh. These women, and I'm going to share their stories right now, not only have fair wages, but they have all the benefits, health care, maternity leave, like every single one of the benefits that a woman should have in their jobs. It's time for that. So I just want to share their story really quickly.
Yo vine a América hace 14 años desde El Salvador. Oh, pues cuando llego a mi casa tengo 3 perritos y me gusta jugar mucho con ellos. Uno se llama Ranger, otro se llama El Güerito y otro se llama Suki, la niña. Para mí son lo máximo, son lindos, muy buenos. Obvio, los amo.
Soy Nuria y soy originaria de El Salvador. Mi madre vive acá hace muchos años y a través de una petición de mi madre vine a este país. El tiempo no ha sido fácil porque estoy adaptándome a una nueva cultura, un nuevo idioma. Poco a poco, avanzando, ya le puedo decir a la gente, I'm learning English, please speak slowly. Y ya como que empiezan a hablar más despacio para que pueda entender un poco más. Y para mí es más fácil cuando hablan despacio.
So I think this is pretty beautiful because they not only show you your product, that your product is conscious, that your product is sustainable, they actually reuse that stock of fabric. Like they're completely sustainable in the whole supply chain, but they also show you the faces of the women that make your clothing. And they make them honestly the leading roles of their brand, which I think that's what every single brand should be doing. And honestly, the prices are very affordable. That's why I feel like you're gonna love this brand. So there's other brands that are actually doing kind of the same stuff that Reformation is doing. And I want to go back really quickly to Reformation because there was a question asked in the other, I think in one of the other talks. And the girl asked, how can small designers, show their customers what we're doing, like if we want to be sustainable. So this Reformation brand, they do it very easily. They put on a hand tag all the information, the name of the woman who did it, how many dead stock fabrics they use, how much water they recycle. So that's a good solution, if you are an emerging designer and you really want to show the world, hey, I'm doing sustainable product. There's also 4 other brands that I really look up to because they really have a great sustainable practices. One of them, Lelem from Lilia Quevede, she's one of an amazing supermodel in New York. She has her own brand as well. Her whole mission is to really emphasize the importance of artisanship. So she goes to Africa, she makes sure she builds villages there where they are making her product. There's children's wear, women's wear, men's wear, home, and it's all being made by African people who has a good fair amount of a good more than a minimum wage. They get paid well and they have health care as well. Another one that is very good and it's a great example, I think, is On Purpose by Kate Spade. Kate Spade is a very well-known brand. Most of women, honestly, own like at least a purse or a wallet. But what they're doing is pretty remarkable because what they're doing is they're actually investing on their supply chain. What that means is that they went to, they decided to put money into their supply chain and they hired around, I think it's 200 women in Rwanda. And in Rwanda, they're actually giving these women not only good salaries, benefits, 3 weeks vacations, maternity leave, etc. But these women are the ones that are creating these beautiful embroidered pieces. So they're investing on their supply chain and they're a luxury brand as well. So I think this is a great solution for luxury brands to actually care about the women that are making their products. Another one is Peace & Co. Peace & Co. is actually a textile and a fabric supplier, and they work with great brands such as Supreme, of Open Ceremony, DBF, like really major fashion players, and they employ around 5,000 artisans across Bolivia and Zambia. And the last one, Iptico, which I really like as well, it's from Guatemala, and they empower the Mayan community there. And all of the products are basically made by the indigenous people in Guatemala. Lastly, I think they gave you guys a little thing that says Carmela, and that's my brand, which I have been doing since I graduated in 2015. Basically, what I wanted to do was to create a sustainable product that really gave back to my country. As I said before, I'm from Venezuela. And when I started the brand, I first started as my senior collection, right? So we're all asked to do a senior collection that is like our thesis, right? I did my thesis, and thanks God, I got a lot of good feature in great magazines. After I got all of these feature, I got a lot of people wanting my clothes. And I asked myself, after I watched the true cost, what can I do to give back? And what can I do to give back to my country, Venezuela? So I decided to go visit my country, see what was going on there. And from there on, I started. I gave jobs to 3 seamstresses and 3 pattern makers. I paid them the 3 times what their salary were that year. And they were not only able to support their children and their families, but at the same time, they were doing something passionate that they love. So that's the motto, and that's what I want to promote to all of you guys. If there's any designers here, I feel like that's what you do when you start realizing and saying, well, I have a very cool product, but what if I make something different with this product? It's going to get more value to the product at the end of the time, because you're not going to only have a cool design, but at the same time, you know that when you wear that cool design, you're actually impacting someone's life. So what's the solution, I feel, at least for the consumers and for the retailers and the small designers and brands that want to do fashion? I feel first, as a consumer, we really, really have to recognize there's human hands behind every single one of the goods that we have. And as I said before, there's approximately 100. Then when we purchase the product, we have to know that we control that purchasing power. So we have to honestly go behind those products that are ethically, and that you know where it comes from. And that even though, I really want to buy that $3.99 shirt, well, don't do it. You can go and maybe buy one used, or go and buy vintage, or go to a store that they have sustainability and that you're actually doing good by purchasing an item. Then I think I make a call to all the retailers. I feel it's time for retailers to stop worrying about this racing on the cheapest prices and who gets out there. And I think the consumer is going to take a lot of responsibility on this, on honestly putting the money to where they should. But the consumers have to start implying and to start making methods in which, in a certain way, they benefit at least some part of different countries in where women are being really marginalized. I think right now there's a really good path in which big companies are starting to do small collections of sustainability, or small collections made out of women that really need it. But I think when the whole industry starts changes, that's when we're going to see a big change. And by that, I also mean that I feel these retailers, just as Kate Spade did, I didn't like it. I didn't like Kate Spade that much, I'm going to be honest, until I saw the On Purpose project. And I realized, wow, these items are actually made by women that didn't have jobs, and they're actually being made sustainable, and they're actually providing these women all of these opportunities that they didn't have. And it makes you kind of you know what, I want to help that cause. And I wear it, and I love it, and it's great. Because I feel good by what I'm wearing, but I feel good also because I'm giving back. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming and joining me here. Hello.
Hello, well done. Congratulations.
Thank you. We hug.
Sit here. Yeah. You're very inspiring. I like it. We can feel your juventud.
Yes.
And your inspiration. Bueno, do we have any questions for Carmela? Yes. please.
I just want to say, Carmela, thank you for amazing presentation. But also, to be a designer, like independent designer in USA, I produce like 100% in USA. I'm a textile designer and a fashion designer. And I think so, like the government needs to help the independent designer to growing. Because when you compare the big companies, they produce in Latin America or they produce in China because they have better profit, Here, if we produce, I'm just working, like with 15 persons working my company, and most of the girls, like they are single mom, And I don't see, when I try to growing with my company, I don't see any program, like we can help like really well, like to growing. So it's like the consumer has to thinking in the history, but the government has to promote to make everything like made in USA. I feel really proud to promote my product in USA, but also I'm from Venezuela. So in the future, I just really want to work to create like some employment, like new employment in Venezuela too. But I believe, my concept is not produced in China. No matter what, if I don't growing in like faster how the other company, I'm honest and loyalty, with my project, with where I'm from. But just, just a comment, like I think so, like the government has a part of the fault, like of what's happened right now, because everything is so competitive, everything is so aggressive. We expect as a designer like a year, like to create every single collection or more. We have to investigate, do the resource and everything. And, like the price point, some people, they don't want to pay. Like they don't really care about the history. But it's like we have to keep like some specific price because if it's made in USA, for sure it's going to cost more money. And when we try to get some help from another company, like the government, it's kind of hard to get it. So it's just a comment,
No, and I totally agree with you. I'm 100% on your side. I think the government has a lot to do with it. Yeah. Sadly, we live in a country in which there's no boundaries. You know what I'm saying?
It's no maternity program for like the girls, has a baby. You don't have a chance, like most of the girls that have the baby, they have to work like 8 months already or 9 months already, and then take the baby 1 month, put in a daycare. It's not a program for a daycare. It's something like really big. We have to work in like a really strong movement and be honest,
But I want to empower you because what you're doing is great. Like what you're doing is what every single designer should be doing. You know what I'm saying? And even the big corporations should be doing. I think when big corporations start really looking at it as like, look, we have the influences to actually change. Market percentage can be as big as they are. It's all about profit. It's all about money.
It's all about
but when us, at least us, which are pioneers of this movement, start doing this and really educating the consumer. Because for me, I didn't know that. I went to study fashion. That's the crazy thing. I was in school for 3 years studying fashion. And I found out about this documentary on Netflix. I was chilling in my house on Netflix, literally, on pajamas, trying to find something to watch. And I saw the documentary. And it changed my life. 100%. I started to buy vintage way more. Even though I love going to Goodwill, that's my place. You find me there. I love it. But honestly, it really changed me because I realized, oh my God, there's so many people being affected by the clothes I like to wear every single day. Then why am I wearing it? What is the purpose of me wearing something that it's honestly just lucrating someone, like giving money to the freaking CEO that is probably super, super rich by now? 30 minutes past this conversation. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, where do I really put my money in? And I think that what you're doing and educating the customer, like making sure that your client and everyone around you know the passion that you have for actually doing sustainable.
Thank you, Carmela.
Thank you very much. Bravo, ole, ole. Cuando habla, dice. ¿No? Do you have any questions? Por aquí.
Hi, Carmelo. Thank you for an inspiring talk. Truly amazed. Amazing energy. Loved it. And, here in the audience, I think we all will agree, we as a society, we need to educate the consumer. And we all are consumers too ourselves, right? We all consume, we all buy from apparel industry. However, what we are trying to do is educate everybody about how our buying patterns impact somebody back in India or back in Bangladesh. What happened at Rana Plaza, right? We're trying to tell everybody that, hey, whatever you buy has an impact all the way over there. How about, it just came to me, when I was listening to you. How about, instead of doing that route, we do the other way? And here I'm asking from input from everybody in this audience. How about we try to teach everybody what you are buying, how is that impacting you? And we change the way, because till the time it impacts you, it will not help with behavior intervention. It will not impact that. If it's not bothering me, it doesn't matter to me. There are one of those movements, not in my backyard. But till the time it is in your backyard, you will not realize what impact it has on you. So for example, let me give you an example. One of the studies at Harvard University, some of the professors did was, and that truly amazed me, that in China, when all these manufacturing companies are producing and they're doing all that, we all know here, the air pollution in China is unbelievable, right? Now, the study proved that the China's air pollution is impacting LA air quality. And the diseases that were found in LA were actually because of the pollution that was generated in China. So that kind of maybe, something that we do that, hey, it is impacting us also. And how is it going to impact us directly? Maybe what we breathe, what we eat, what we drink, whatever we are buying, those choices are indirectly impacting us as well. And it's just a suggestion, and would love feedback from everybody that it could be the way we are trying to, educate everybody. We try to pivot our strategy, basically, and then show them how it can impact you.
No, and I agree with you 100%. I think sustainability is a way of living. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. I started with clothing,
Yep.
I do want to get it there. I feel there's so many ecosystems and eco alternatives, to living that actually, for example, I live in New York, one of the most polluted cities in the world. I see pollution every single time.
Yeah.
What do I do now? Instead of throwing it, well, I have to recycle. I have no choice. But I do that, and I actually enjoy it, because I feel like, okay, this is my little way to actually changing it, and then I have the fashion, but I think what you're saying of actually embracing the whole movement is what's really gonna make an impact.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
I've just got
Gary.
two questions, both related to transparency and interlinked. You mentioned Kate Spade as an example. I was interested to see that because Kate Spade only scored 12% on the Fashion Transparency Index. So just curious, do you not think that's just greenwashing? Why are they not then incorporating, that good practice, that social impact across their supply chain? I mean, several of the tanneries I saw in Bangladesh were supplying Kate Spade, apparently. So, why aren't they making that social impact across their supply chain? Why are they scoring such a low percentage? And so, to me, that would potentially feel like greenwashing. And one of the brands who are often accused of greenwashing is H&M. And I was interested that you talked about them sourcing in Uzbekistan, because they banned Uzbekistan cotton in 2013, and they've more recently banned sort of Turkmenistan and Syrian cotton. But we still know that Uzbekistan sells its entire production of cotton every year, and it's usually labelled as made in Bangladesh. So just wondering if you had any insider insight into, is H&M really still buying cotton in Uzbekistan, even though they're saying, their policies say that it's been banned for the last 5 years? So just wondering, where your insights were there.
So to the first question, to the first comment, I definitely feel that Kate Spade has to be 100% transparent. And not only H&M. I think, for example, Calvin Klein has to do the same thing. And a lot of big brands have to do the same thing. I think there's ways of also starting, to affect people in a positive way. I had the opportunity with Calvin Klein, right? Last year, I went to Semarang, Indonesia. And that's where we do all of our wovens. Honestly, it was a great manufacturer. All of the women were paid a good fair amount of a good fair wage. They were everything was working fine. But honestly, even though I went, it was a little painful because you see these women sewing 20 hours a day, well, not 20 hours a day, but you see this, like doing the same thing 7 hours a day, the same thing. And it's 1,000 of women in one work, like it really hits you, right? So as a pioneer of change, that's something that I want to implement as well in like solutions in Calvin Klein, in which we can, in a certain way, impact a certain, amount of people. Positive, being more transparent is one thing, and I heard that in your talk that that's one of the things that they're starting to do as a Tommy Hilfiger, also Calvin Klein. But I also feel with Kate Spade, not only that it's maybe a way of brainwashing, but I see the positive also side of it, that is 300 women are being benefited. So I'm gonna buy that product. I'm gonna buy the on-purpose product that they did. The one that I saw the women doing it and I saw by my hands doing it. I'm not gonna buy her other luxury goods if they don't have a transparency rate with you guys, because I feel like then you're contradicting yourself. But when these things that are solutions, to what is going on, I think we should support it. But because at the same time, it's benefiting these 300 women, And I think that if luxury brands start doing that, and at the same time they keep the level of transparency up, I think that's where a change, can go, and when the industry can start, evolving. With this, it was a report that I found on the New York Times about, I think 2 years ago. I'm gonna share it with you, about the cotton. I feel like H&M does a great job on hiring, on kind of like showing you that they do like a sustainable product, they do this kind of like collection for ecosystem. But at the same time, yeah, the garment, it might not be a cotton that is really harming the world, but it's still being made by people in, manufacturers all over the world that are very mistreated because the prices, I think it all goes back to the prices. The prices are so low that there's no way that if they turn over about 600 million garments a year, 600 million H&M garments a year. It's so many clothing, and it's so many clothing that is going to waste because of all the products that is being made of. So that's when you start thinking, what I really want to support, where do I really want to put my money in?
Thank you. Do we have any other questions? Yeah, please, over here.
Hi, well, I'm so impressed by your talk. I think that you're doing an amazing job, and I love your brand and everything that you stand for. Also, you mentioned that you're 24, right? So in your, I guess in your world of peers, is sustainability something that they want to shop for? Your young millennials, do they care? Versus, people who don't care. I have a lot of conversations on sustainability where what I'm actually wearing right now is Reformation, and they're like, oh, it's really cool. And then when I'm like, yeah, it's also a sustainable brand, there's a lot of glary eyes, and you lose them. So I was wondering, and that's really for my generation, but I was wondering, for your generation, is sustainability the cherry on top, or is it really, why they're purchasing?
What I have realized about my generation is that they're very passionate, in terms of the shopping, They want to stand, for what they shop for. So they shop, there's like an emotional involvement when they shop. And I think it also has to do with the whole kind of like social media being so big that it just informs you, and it really creates, that scenario in which it gets you excited about the product, right? I feel it's a little bit kind of like what Carrie suggested on her, or what one of the movements that is going to happen or has happened in the fashion revolution, that is the love story about you and the brand. I think it's the way companies sell the product, just like Reformation did. I didn't know Reformation until 2 years ago, and it's a company that has been there for 10 years. When I saw the whole brand, right, first it has great designs, beautiful designs, beautiful, girly designs that you can find practically the same ones on H&M. However, when you start reading the page, and this happens to me, to my fellow friends, that work with me with my same age and my girlfriends, when you start reading the whole website that they have, and you go through every single page and the product, and when they deliver the product to you, they deliver the product on like a sustainable bag, you know, so you can actually recycle. You get this tag, beautiful tag that says, these products come from this. Then on the Instagram, I see this video of these beautiful women, Mexican women, so happy, saying, look, I did your clothing. So that's when you, I think, hit that market. That's when you hit customers like me. Because you not only show the great product, because that they have great product. Look at what you're wearing. You look gorgeous. But you know what I'm saying? But they also have that whole big picture that they really know how to sell it by showing you that it's sustainable. So it makes you, want to buy it. And something that it's really popping right now, and it's on trend, everyone's starting to buy vintage. That's something that is happening on every single age. Like, I just recently got a super nice bag on The Real. And I was like, wow, like I can actually buy, luxury brand items on an affordable price, really affordable. It's a Gucci bag and it was super, super affordable. But at the same time, I'm doing something good. Why? Because I'm actually recycling and actually, contributing to the movement. So I think that part of buying vintage, also helps my generation, and my generation is the one that also is getting a lot of impulse. You can see the whole coming up of the monogram logos of all these luxury brands. Instead of going, to landfills or anything, there's people buying it and like using it at like very trendy kind of cool style. So I feel like that in a certain way is putting a seed, that it's gonna start growing, and my generation is gonna start buying more green for sure. Especially having pioneers like her. She has the best blogger ever. She's like, you don't even know. Like, she has the best blog ever of all sustainable things. I follow her like head to toe. So great.
And you look very young. How old
Super
are you?
young. Super young.
You make this
Yeah,
big
gap, right?
separate.
Like,
Yeah, exactly. How old are you? Well, come on. Come on, older. We have one more question, please.
So since we're on the topic of like what's in the future for fashion, I was wondering if you think it's possible for all fashion to be sustainable in the future, and if you think so, how so?
I wish. I honestly wish. However, I see the turnover of the really big fast fashion manufacturers, and I just feel like they're constantly with time getting richer and richer and richer. I honestly feel we have made a great impact for the last 10 years. Just like what Carrie said, in 2013, we had such a big tragedy that thanks to that tragedy, a lot of people opened their eyes to what's going on. I didn't know about that until that happened. And until I watched that documentary and I said, okay, I can make a change. And I think that more than anything, the consumer is the one that's gonna have the strengths. I think retailers, and I'm gonna be honest, I have been on that part of the business, they are all about making money. It's all about making money. And it's sad because at the same time, it's only profiting such a little small group of people. But at the same time, I work for a big company. On the side, I do my sustainable work. I feel like if we can all have, on the side jobs, some kind of like sustainability project or something to give back. I'm gonna give you, for example, a quick example. When I say I'm an activist, I think most of you guys know about Venezuela and what has happened in my country, right? I'm not a politician, and I don't come here to talk about politics, hate politics, honestly. I'm a designer. However, as a designer, I felt that I had the opportunity, and not only the opportunity, but I really had the need when my country was going through really, really rough times to give back to my country. And I really was trying to figure out what was the best way to do it. So then I decided, when I went to Semarang, to Indonesia, to my manufacturers with CK Jeans, I was there, when I was talking to the manufacturer, the supplier, I tell him, I just want to buy 200 shirts from you, since these shirts, are made by welfare women, I want to buy them from you, and I want to put a name into it. It's called Heroes. And this shirt, I started selling these shirts on an online website that I did, honestly, in 3 days. And all of the shirts sold. All of the profits of the shirts went to Venezuela. I was able to impact so many kids, around 500 kids. We made, I think, $12,000 out of 500 shirts. All the profit went there. And that was just something that I did in 3 months. So if I can make an impact, I'm sure you can make an impact, and anyone can make an impact if you just set your mind straight to it. And if you have a purpose in life. My purpose is to give back to my country. And I'm sure, you know, like as we grow, you know, people are gonna start using fashion not only as a tool of dressing good and looking great, but as a tool of change.
Thank you. I think it's a good way to communicate, you know, to transmit messages. So we have to use it, the power of fashion to communicate. So, bueno, thank you very much. Thank you, Carmela. Thank you so much. I would like to invite Carrie, please, and Jeffrey on the stage. So we say goodbye all together. Huh? Please. Jeffrey, just push him. Jeffrey, I would like him to come on stage. Herfrey. I will change name. Come in, please. Just don't worry. We just, today we finished with this Fashion Week Summit. So big applause for these wonderful people. Thank you all of you for being here, for listening to these wonderful stories, and I hope to see you next year at Miami Fashion Summit. Thank you.